So, it gave me time to think. They offered me the place in the end of September, and I didn't get to officially nail where it was until the middle of January. I mean, it couldn't have been better, really, because, it gave me time to think, and yes, I'm pleased that I've stayed where I am. I'm happy. The only thing is the accommodation here. I can put one person up, but not two. So either the granddaughter or the daughter stays. So that's the difficulty. Yes, so...
Adrian?
There is yeah, got you, Colin. Because I refused it, it doesn't mean that I won't be offered anything else. So it's something, that could pop up any time in the next year or two.
Yeah, all understood, mate. Okay, well, Colin's come up, and over to you, Cole.
A very good morning to you. Yeah, just as I've handed it over, my good lady's delivered me a cup of tea.
That's very nice. Yeah, morning, Doreen. Hope you're feeling a bit better, love. Your voice, it sounds awful at the moment, Colin.
Well,
exactly the same. I bought a new one, took the cells out of that, and they're capable of delivering a very large amount of current, so there's nothing wrong with them either. So it's these PCBs that are the problem. What a waste of time and space. Anyway, lovely signal from you, Brian. A little bit of QSB on you this morning, but with the Mark II Q multiplier, I've been able to cut out the sideband interference, although somebody did start burbling over the top of you with some sort of data signal, which is very kind of them. I don't believe that they can't hear us. But generally quite good this morning. Sun's on its way up, and that's increasing the mist, and it's got the makings of a very nice day. I'm working today, so I'll make the next one a final. So from me, it's round to you, Paul. M1 PVC with the group G3VTD.
G3XGW. Good morning.
Yeah, stand by, Keith. I'm going to bring Stuart in. G0TBI. M1 PVC.
Okay, Keith, good morning to you, good morning to the rest of the group. Sorry earlier, I did call in earlier, but I had to go and get a shower. I've got to go out to work this morning, unfortunately. Excuse me. And then when I've come back to the transmitter, I pressed the PTT, and I heard this bang, but it wasn't a bang at all. The common slide lock fuse on the front, and there are 4 fuses, one for the fan, one for the LT, one for the common, one for the HT. It popped out. It jumped forward and fell on top of some other microphones sat on the box, and it devastated me at first. I thought, oh my God, not another problem. Anyway, you'll be pleased to know the Polestar ATU, having took the lid off late last night and looked at it, find a mark anywhere on it, Paul. I couldn't make my mind up whether it was the patch lead between there and the transmitter that had sort of semi-fried, as it were, or it was sort of something on the back of the front switch of the cross needle meter. So I rattled that back and forward several times, and this was a bit of an arc on there. She sorted herself out, she burst back into life, and she's in use now. Anyway, that's the story. I've got to watch the time. What time is it? 57. I want to be out by about 8:15, so I'll probably have time for one more round, but I heard Dave talk about ZC1s. I've got a couple of those. In fact, I only sort of looked at one the day before yesterday. I must sort something out, because I don't think I want to keep 2. But one is modified for a mains PSU. But it does work. Having said that, it hasn't been switched on for about 7 or 8 years. I wonder if I should pass it straight round to Keith, because I don't know who else it comes to, or should I pass it back to you, Paul? Anyway, this is the 1509, and mixed signals this morning, some down in QSB, and you're up there at about 5, 8 to 9, Paul. But I'll pass it back to you and then you can sort it out. M1PVC G0TBI in the group.
Yeah, okay, Stuart, I'll pass it to Keith, he can pass it back to me. G3XGW, M1PVC.
Yes, very good morning, G3XGW. Some very big signals about this morning. Stuart, you were touching again, stop now and again. So there's obviously no problem with the rig there. Paul, you're similar, 25 over 9. Ray, actually, you were up and down a bit. I just caught the end of your last over and you were only round about a 9 with some rapid fading and a bit of monkey chatter causing a few issues, but mostly copied. It's a bit of a misty morning here. It's cold, well, 3 degrees I suppose. It's not that cold. Well, it's getting colder, isn't it? And maybe the mist is starting to clear a bit. Actually, I can see the top of the hill, so we might get a bit of decent weather later on. Apparently. Obviously on a different rig this morning, Paul. It sounds very smooth actually. I think it somehow sounds nicer than your what you've been running recently. I can't remember what it was. Was it the Bendix? Or the but I heard you mention using a different microphone, so that probably makes a difference. But it kind of takes the edge off the top, which sometimes is a bit piercing, I find. When conditions are good, you know, you don't really need it, and it's nice to have a slightly more smooth sound. That's what my ears are telling me anyway. Who else have I heard? Oh, I did hear Dave briefly, and you seem like quite a good signal, Dave. I don't know if you've changed anything there. And I heard Brian as well, but there was the digital dragon was causing a bit of a problem with you, Brian. Mainly because your frequency's more or less where it is. Can I take it you got your laptop back working again, Ray? I remember some time ago you were fuming about it. I think, did you not say it was some sort of update that caused it to, a Windows update caused it to go wrong? And I'm not surprised you were annoyed. That would really annoy me. Funny enough, I was up in the shack yesterday messing about with I got an old PC up there with the XP Pro on it, and it did an update. When I power it up, the splash screen comes up and says Brockenhurst College. So obviously they paid for continuing updates on XP Pro, which I'm quite grateful for, as it only cost me a tenner. That's the PC cost me a tenner. Clean loaded with this copy of XP. So amazing, really. Right, round to you, Paul. M1 PVC
G3 XGW, M1 PVC. Well, you're 20 over. Stuart's about 25 over with me. And yes, I am on something different and something quite modern. This is the Kenwood TS2000 with the Shure 55SH Unidyne dynamic microphone. It is Ray, and actually it's a very high quality microphone, and it has mellow audio. I wouldn't say bright audio. It's got full range audio, but of course it's going through a modern black box which has SSB filters in it. I have actually turned the equalization up pretty high now on the Behringer mixer deck, which sits between the microphone and the rig, so there is more top being driven, but of course there's DSP filtering in the Kenwood, which will take it back off again. Kenwood's producing 10 watts, but that 10 watts is being manipulated by a Linear Amp UK Ranger 811H linear amplifier up to, well, it says about 110 watts carrier at the present moment. So there you go. So yeah, it's probably near the knuckle on the legal maximum. So that's what I'm using. I just tried this yesterday afternoon and spoke to Ian in Bristol on it in an idle moment, and I thought, well, might as well use it today, reform the capacitors in the linear amp, which hasn't been on for about a year, and so far it's behaving itself. And what do we got here? 250 milliamps anode, yes. Yeah, it all looks right on the meters. Very, very slight hum I can see on the trace when I stop talking, and I think that's coming out of the linear amp. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. Good news, Stuart, on the PAL Star. Yeah, I did wonder that, because the more I looked at the circuit, the only component I could see that was actually across the input socket in any form was indeed that capacitor I was talking about, and I would have thought that they would have thought of that and put an adequate capacitor to deal with that. So that's good news, and good news on the other gremlin that wasn't. These things do happen. And well, there you go, Dave. It was Dave, G8YFH, Stuart, that was asking about the receiver, ZC1. He's after one, but there you go, Dave. If you contact Stuart, he may be interested in providing your needs. I think it'll cost you a membership to VMARS, though, and I think it ought, because it's a good organisation, and it'd be nice to have you as a member, Dave. There's the advert. Round to you, Brian. GU4LJC, M1PVC.
G3YJO, good morning. Sierra Kilowatt from Mainhead. Go ahead, Brian, please, over.
Hi, seamless transmission there from G3YJO and G3PSK, both 59+++. Very, very strong signals this morning, Stuart. You're a massive, great signal, about 25/9, Stuart, with me. And that's very pleasing to see that you hadn't destroyed your matching unit there. Yes, ZC1, as far as I know, is an Australian 19 set, I call it. I've never seen one in person, but I've seen pictures of them. So you need to speak to Stuart, Dave. Your signal's all up lovely, Dave. Nice audio out of that SDCal. I think it is 30. Very nice audio that you're getting. And all signals are good. Yeah, the camera sounding fine, Paul. It just doesn't have that little bit of brightness in the audio, but it's not a problem. Well, it's very, very acceptable. And I'm not hearing that. When you stop talking, not now. Anyway, it's not showing up now. You turn the processor off or readjusted it. Well, I'm going to get my cornflakes. I'll hand it to Martin, G3YJO, and then Martin, and it goes, if you can bring Colin in, and then Colin, it goes to G8YFH. When you're finished, Colin, Dave, in Hampshire, near Alton, in Hampshire, near the watercress line, and Colin, or Dave lives very near the watercress line. Right, with that I don't have much more to add. I've been, well, you either have been talking, I've been servicing some of my tools. I noticed the other day I was using my wire cutters and they got stiff, they wouldn't reopen again easy, and it made life very difficult, and I couldn't think why they got stiff. They're not years old. And then I remembered I did a little bit of work outside on my aerial a while back, and I left them out overnight by mistake, and it rained. I did grab some water gun in the joint, so little touch of 3-in-1, and they're working perfectly again now. exercise a bit and feel the web rust coming out the door. You Martin, Q4RJC with the group, then it's on to Colin, and then Colin is on to Dave. 730, I'll have my breakfast, I'll remain listening.
GU4LJC, G3YJO, absolutely fine, Brian. A little bit of QSP this morning. You were peaking 10 over 9, dipping down to about an 8 at times, but all Q5 of course. And Paul, you were 20 over 9 on your, I think it was a TS rig or something, I forgot the number, but sounding good. I wouldn't have known the difference listening on the 52 set receiver at least anyway. So anyway, very good morning to everybody. Had a bit of a late night last night. It was up in the smoke for an IET dinner, which was very enjoyable, having good discussions, but I got back a little bit on the late side after the last train, so I had to resort to the well-known Uber, which went very well and was quite good price, I have to say. Very convenient system. Anyway, it's a little bit on the greyish side this morning, but quite bright, so hopefully it's going to be a dry day. And I think the meetings that I had scheduled, a number of external meetings today and tomorrow, both got cancelled yesterday, so I think, although I haven't checked, that I've got a couple of days of my own, so to speak, where I can get on with things that I want. So I've got a bit of work to do in the background, but there'll be an opportunity to play a bit of radio and also do a bit of 60 metres. If anybody's around later in the morning, it's been quite nice frequency. Right, I haven't heard anybody else, and I'm not quite sure how long the list is, so I'll keep it short. I'm on the wireless set 53 with the 52 receiver this morning, so warm up the shack a bit, and pass it on to Colin, G3TSK, G3YJO.
And I was rather guessing you were on 53 because you're plus 40, but the strongest signal is Paul is greater than plus 40, and I've only calibrated this meter up to plus 40, which is 5,000 microvolts. That's an awful lot of voltage, and that's PD, of course, not AMF. So there we go. This is Golf 3 Tango Sierra kilowatt. Brian, up here on your sticking wire cutters, yeah, I've had the same thing. In fact, when I've been out, I've left tools out there, and they merge with the grass, don't they? That's the problem. So what I do now is I bring a tray out, put everything on the tray, and I have that problem again. But yes, a little bit of oil on there, and off they go again. As good as new. And I've got some tools when I was an apprentice, when I was 15 years of age. There you go. And one of them is one of the soldering irons. I think it's got a phosphorus bronze end, and you stick it on the flame there, and where the flame turned a sort of cherry colour, and brought the tip of the iron about 2 inches or something. Yes, that's all right. That's how we used to do it in those days. I never knew anybody who sort of touched their chin. Around it, yes. Anyway, thank goodness we have temperature controlled irons now. We no need to do that. But good irons for going outside if you don't have a solid. I've got a 250 watt solid. That's an amp at 250 volts there. So that's an awful lot of current and an awful big. It takes 2 hands to hold it. Just about, you know what I mean? Fulcrum thingy bob. Length times weight or something. Length times, that's right, is it? Hang on, is it? Fulcrum. Foot pounds. That's it, foot pounds. So it's about 2 foot long and it must weigh a pound. So there you go, balancing that in one hand. I'm rambling again, lads, no need for that. I'm going to pass on to you then. And I wake myself up there. But I am a sort of bright-eyed and bushy tail, or I should be. I've had a shave, had a wash. And I'm up here, but I haven't had my breakfast, and I think that's the key thing. So over to you, Dave. Let's hear what you like there. G-N-Y-F. Watercress line, I think it is, or near the watercress line. This is Golf 3 Tango Sierra kilowatt. Go ahead, Dave. Over.
Quick one,
Gladly join the group for that one. Membership at this point. G3VTD59, Brian was, well, he was over the 900, so quite a good signal, big QSB anyway. Now, I've got a person card just checked over for a friend, which is the one for the, what is it, the 50 set. It's the receive-only power supply, 50 volts, 12 volts, and 12 volts. So I've got to put it under load. What I'm going to do, I think, is use the HT to run a 19 set just on receive, see what happens. Make sure it's, none of the caps have gone down. So I've got to do that over the next few days. I've got to get it back to the guys for next Wednesday. So if it's working, I shall be happy. I've checked it through at the moment. But you can never tell. Righto, according to the list, he's back to G3VTD's after me, isn't he?
That's fine, Dave, from G3VTD. Well, how fortunate you wanted a ZC1 and Stuart came up with one. Very fortuitous. You'll no doubt be quite delighted there. I think it's only about 30 quid to join VMARS, and it really is worthwhile. The magazines and the information that come through the post are excellent, actually. Plenty of articles and plenty of interesting ones. Even deviating from radio, Ian did a wonderful article on some military stuff, a couple of issues back, and that was very interesting. Monitor Martin and Monitor Colin. Signals are just beginning to change. Martin, you were stonking S9 Plus with the 53 set, and Colin, you were down a little bit on that over. QSB was taking you out at times, which earlier on you weren't suffering from that. So things are obviously changing. And now I bought two, one for myself and one for my late wife. And she passed away, and I was booking a holiday for my sister one day, and I said, well, look, I've got a spare laptop. So I gave her the late wife's laptop, and her son came down and put her on as an administrator. And then when she got the granddaughter's a little bit more modern one, she brought this one back. And I was trying to eliminate her as an administrator, and it was a nightmare, absolute nightmare. And the more stuff I got shut of, the more problematic it became, because there were bits of software and programs associated with the administrator, and it wasn't a simple task of just taking her out and changing. I became an administrator, but there were two of us, and it seemed to be then struggling with who to deal with. And I played about with it. I have to be honest, probably I played about with it for about 4 or 5 days, and then I thought, what on earth am I doing here? And I thought I'll do a complete hard reset, because there was nothing on the laptop that I particularly wanted to save. Did a hard reset, downloaded Java, and here it is in front of me, producing the 4FPH site beautifully, which is all I wanted it for in the shack, actually. So, problem solved in that respect. 1155, Keith, as well. I've been playing about with another form of key multiplication on this. Obviously, if you've got a tune circuit in the grid and a tune circuit in the anode of the IF amplifier, couple the two together and it will oscillate. But the grid wiring is above the chassis, excuse me, on the top caps. And the anode wiring is below the chassis, so it's a bit messy trying to arrange couplers some of the chassis. I now realise that the anode of the previous stage could be in the case to produce some positive feedback. So I started coupling the two together, just bringing a wire from one anode to the other, and the gain came up, the bandwidth came in, and I've no control over it yet other than moving a bit of wire, but the results are very promising actually. I'm listening to everybody on it this morning, and it's got a much tighter feel to the tuning. I stuck the wobulator on and could see the effect quite nicely last night. So what I'm going to do is put some cathode components in one of the IF amplifiers. So it's got a cathode bias resistor, and vary the decoupling to control the gain, and then thereby control the Q of that particular tune circuit based on increasing or decreasing the feedback. And it looks very promising actually. I'm quite pleased. I'm sure it's been done before, but certainly not at this QTH. So I'm looking forward to getting some control over it. As I said, the only control I've got over it at the moment is increasing or decreasing the coupling by moving the wire closer together to the preceding stage anode. So that looks very promising because it's the absolute minimum of intervention into the circuitry, where the original Q multiplier got up into T7 stage, and okay, that could produce a notch, and it could alter the bandwidth, but the notch I never really used, and the bandwidth was the thing that was useful to get you to the monkey chatter on the morning. Anyway, I'll keep it posted as that goes on. I should be having a play with that hopefully over the next couple of days. I'm back over to the good lady's mansion, her daughter's mansion tonight, house sitting. Yes, again. They're back on Sunday, fortunately, so back to normal then. So I should certainly have it something like in the next day or two, and be delighted to report back as to how well it works or how well it doesn't work. So, very good morning from me, chaps. Always a talk, as always, and hopefully catch up with you tomorrow morning if I can get away early enough to get the good lady off my string vest and get the black pudding gently festering away in the pan before I come down to the shack. So, M1PVC to take it, with the group G3BTD signing and wishing you all a very good morning.
I've got a clear, guys.
Clutch removed. 0 TPI, M1PVC.
Yeah, I did transmit over you to say he was signing Paul, but Jan called in over the top of Brian.
Now, I didn't hear Jan. Let's see if Jan is there. PA3FAU, M1PVC. No, I can't hear Jan on the Kenwood, so I'll put it round to Keith. G3XGW, M1PVC.
Okay, fine, G3XGW. Yes, I heard Jan. I can always tell when Jan's coming on because he puts out a signal on top of somebody else first. So I always know it's Jan. Anyway, good morning to you, Jan, if you're listening. You were just about Q5 here. You were blotting out Brian, or was it Brian or was it Colin? Probably Colin, actually. Anyway, not to worry. And very good morning to you, Colin, and also to Martin. Cheers to Stuart. I think he might be jumping the gun a bit there on it. I only heard Stuart say he got a couple of ZC1s. I didn't hear him say he wanted to get rid of them. But anyway, I'll leave that as it is. Still all very big signals actually, and Martin, I didn't actually catch what you were on, but you were on the end stop basically, 30/9 or thereabouts, and Colin, you were 20/9 with some bit of QSB. And Colin, yeah, interesting phenomenon actually. I don't know whether anybody else noticed it or whether it was something at this end, but when you first came on, the audio was very spiky and not readable. And at one point I thought you were off frequency and I was just getting the odd splatter from you, but it wasn't that, I don't think. And I might have heard it before actually. Something takes a little while to come up when you first come on. Maybe it's that Maybe it's those three-legged fuses. It's almost like a capacitor's charging up or doing something. So it could be the audio processor. Yeah, ZC1's quite. So it's a nice-looking transmitter receiver. Actually, it is. And it's not really like the 19, so it's not a transceiver, it's separate transmitter and receiver, I think. But nice looking bit of kit, but they do go for rather high prices, I think. So good luck with that, Dave. And okay on the laptop, yes, I got the wrong end of that story, then obviously Ray, but you succeeded in the end. When you, somebody ought to, before me, to tot up the number of hours we spend sorting out problems with these time-saving computing devices. I think we'd find the result was negative in the end. I'm just about to do battle with one that I've got to produce some 4 or 5 line video, and it seems the way to go is to get a dual-head video card, and I managed to find one on eBay for princely some £14, complete with all the cables. So I'm just about to install that so that I can carry on putting out normal video on the VGA to the monitor, and then on the alternative output configure it to generate 405 line. And it occurred to me, I was going to do it on the original video card, and then I thought, hang on a minute, supposing I manage to do it, the monitor will then go off because it won't be able to understand what's coming out of the computer, and I'd never be able to get back. So anyway, it seems like this might be the way to go. I have produced some, I programmed up an Arduino to produce line sync pulses yesterday, which is not difficult to do. Unfortunately, it's rather like when you come down to those sort of timings. I'll have to consult my daughter as to whether there's an alternative way to do it. But the TV did try to sync to it, but it was very ragged as it was jittering about. You can see it on the scope. So anyway, we're still making progress in that respect, and I think things are going reasonably well at the moment. What was the other comment? I think that was about it, really. Okay, I think I better make this a final and get some breakfast organised. So we're going swimming later on today. We've just had a bit of sun here, surprisingly, and there's little patches of blue sky. So maybe it's not quite all doom and gloom on the weather front. Okay, so it's round to you, Paul, I think. M1PVC, G3XGW. Cheers all.
G3XGW, M1PVC. Yes, okay, Keith. 7-3 to you, 7-3 to Ray, to Stuart if he's still listening, and also to Brian. And good morning, Martin, 25 over 9. And Colin, you're 10 over 9 with me. And yeah, okay, on the sync pulse generator. God, it's some years since I got into that. And I never did build one for 405 lines, but 625 I built several, and I still have my test card generator, which produces a 625 line test card, much like test card F, complete with circle as well. It's actually got a circle generator, and it's all built with TTL circuitry. On for 200 chips in it. I used to amuse myself with things like that, and of course it's quite simple to build a sync generator for 625 lines using TTL, because you just take a 1 meg crystal as you keep dividing it to get the various frequencies that you want, and using monostable flip-flops you get the pulse widths for the blanking pulses, and mix it all together, and that's what you've got. So I've done that, and as I say, for the test card generator, of course you had to go one stage further and build an encoder for the PAL system, so you had to produce the burst and everything that went with it, but I got there. I learnt a lot. it kept me out of mischief, and of course that's what I did between about 1960 and the year 2000. I didn't do any radio. It was all what I call consumer electronics, and TV was one of them, including building a camera using a 1-inch Vidicon from a Practical Electronics article, which worked very well when I found a mistake in the circuit diagram, but was black and white, and of course was massive. These days, you know, a thumbnail produces better project or quality and in colour. Anyway, well done with your efforts on that, Keith. And as I say, all of my CCTV was 625. I never bothered before 05. Well, I suppose in those days, why would you? The definition just wasn't there. But it's good to look back and to do these things, and you've certainly gone through the hoop with that, with the transformer rewinds and everything else. So anyway, have a great day, Keith, and as I say, good to hear the progress, but all of my cathode tube monitors and televisions and the like went up to landfill long ago. I've got one small colour cathode tube monitor with about a 6-inch tube in it, which I keep, but I never use it. And the test card generator, well, it just took me so long to build it. I didn't have the heart to dispose of it, and there's nothing in it that really I need, so it can stay in one piece. Anyway, there you go. What else? Well, okay, on the computer, Ray. Well, computers drive you mad. As far as the set goes, Dave, yes, indeed, Stuart did say that he had two. He said that one had been modified, and he might be thinking of getting rid of it. That's what I understood. But I will leave that. I'm not acting as go-between. That's between you and Stuart, Dave. But as Keith has said, it doesn't sound as though they're particularly cheap. And you'll find Stuart's full details on qrz.com. So I'll leave that, as I say, up for you to contact or do whatever. But there you go. You might be lucky one day on that. But yeah, a piece of equipment coming from New Zealand, etc. It's going to make it a bit rarer in this country by a long way. And like Brian, I've never seen one in the flesh. I've seen the pictures, and I just looked it up and familiarised myself, but I've never seen one in the flesh here. Somebody has got one somewhere, but well, all of this stuff now is making big money, so one's got to be prepared to spend out. Anyway, let's keep it going round to you, Martin, and okay with your free days. I probably won't be on the air today. I've got a whole day's worth of metal bashing, in fact probably 2 days, because I've now got my aluminium sheets, and I shall be getting on with it after this net. G3YJO, M1PVC.
Yeah, can I say a quick over?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dave, go ahead.
Great, thanks. A quick one on that. What happened once before, I was after a power supply off of Stuart, and it didn't materialise. But I will join the group if there's a chance of a ZC1, and I will go for 5 years on it. So there you go. Okay, 7-3's got to go. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hey, YFH.
Yeah, okay, Dave. Well, it's a good group, and that's the sort of place where you would find one, because you could put a note on the reflector saying wanted, and you never know what might turn up. Round to you, Martin. G3YJO, M1PVC.
M1PVC, G3YJO in the group. Well, it's okay. Well, happy hunting, Dave, and hope you managed to find that. I've never seen one in the flesh either. I've seen photographs and drawings, but never actually seen one. I guess they must be pretty rare in this country. Well, signals, well, everybody's in good shape. Keith, 10 over 9, Stuart, 15 over 9, Ray, plus 10. Dave, you're sort of between 8 and 9 plus 5. Colin was, well, I put down 9, but I'm sure you were a bit high. Well, actually, no, I think you were. There was a bit of QSP on you, Colin, so I think you're averaging 9. And Paul, you're still 20 over, so working very well. Well, the sun is up now and coming through the trees, so it's looking like a brighter day than I thought it was going to be. So that's quite good. So I was up in London at a dinner last night, so I got back a bit late, and it was a bit of a more of a struggle to get up this morning after the evening's entertainments, but it was a good evening. And let me see, not much radio yesterday because I was working and also getting ready for going up to London. Just trying to think if there was any excitement, and I can't think there was. So okay, about being busy this morning or today, Paul. So I'll keep giving out some calls on 60 metres. There are a few folks that come up from time to time, and generally when I'm just working from home, I leave the 19 set on 60 and the 52 set on 80 meters, and surprising how many people sort of pop up at all points during the day. And in fact, conditions on 80 have been quite good during the day at the moment. So this time of year, it's the mornings get lighter and the evenings get lighter. It all lasts a bit longer, which is rather nice. I saw that there was a 19 set high power on the famous auction website, which I looked at, and I thought, well, that'd be rather nice to have. But it started out at a reasonable price, but towards the end it rocketed up to about 120 quid, I think it was, which seemed an awful lot for a dog bone connector, although those particular ones are rather rare, and it would have been nice to have it, but it was not to be. And as you say, Paul, many of the pieces of equipment now are reaching quite high prices, and occasionally you see some which are really in rather dire condition, where I think folk have been a little bit optimistic in the pricing, but I don't know whether they ever get rid of them. Looking at them, I think those still seem to be kicking around, but some of the stuff that's in good condition excuse me, some of the stuff that's in good condition is reaching reasonably high prices, but just one or two things occasionally come in at sort of on the upper end of my my budget for these things, but I guess everything is in the eye of the beholder.